Hello, welcome everyone. Hello everyone. My name is Espe. I'm a counselor at the emotional well-being team from St. Elizabeth Hospice. And I want to say good morning, good afternoon, good night, depends where you are today. Welcome to this series of webinars that we start today. I'm very, very excited to have in our panel today 3 international speakers that are going to help us today to unravel and to discuss a little bit more about grief and rituals. So we're celebrating today. We're starting today with the National Grief Awareness Week. We're marking this with a webinar that is called Rituals Across Cultures. And that is why we have the 3 international speakers. So we have Wilka Roig from Mexico. We have Anna Solyom, or let me know how do I pronounce correctly your name, Anna?
It would be Solyom.
Soyo.
Yes,
Soyo.
thank you, Espe.
Thank you, Anna, from Spain. And then we've got Rachèl Hughes from Canada. So I'm going to do just a small introduction of each of our speakers so you know who they are, and then we will start. So Wilka is a transpersonal psychologist, grief counselor, death doula, and founder of the Foundation Elizabeth Cabral in Mexico Centro. She created the first Latin American training for life, death, and transition doulas, and advises several international organizations, including INELDA. Deeply committed to transforming how we approach loss and dying, she supports the Spanish-speaking communities across the America. In this webinar, Wilka will explore the human impulse to ritualize grief, but we will see how this is taking us as a little bit further. We will be very open to discuss anything that appears. Then we've got Anna. Anna is in Barcelona, I think, yeah, based author and psychosomatics therapist whose books on healing and loss have been translated into over 20 languages. Her work integrates biodynamic craniosacral therapy and ancestral lineage healing within ritual frameworks, and offers a trauma-informed holistic approach to grief that reconnects people to their inner strength and ancestral roots. She will tell us a little bit more about that. And Rachèl Hughes from Canada is a therapist, educator, and a speaker based in Ontario with a background in psychology and education. Her works blend cultural traditions, compassionate inquiry, and storytelling to help individuals and communicate navigating their grief. Drawing from her own experience and working with grieving families, she highlights how rituals and remembrance can offer connection and healing. She will tell us a little bit more about this. I think I probably missed lots of things that you've done, but welcome the 3 of you. I don't know if you would like, I'm very, very grateful for you to be here today, so thank you. So I'm going to give you, I don't know who would like to start, you Wilka or Anna or Rachel?
Sure, I can start.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Wilka.
Yeah. So thank you again for the invitation, and it's wonderful to be with all of you in this moment. I wanted to start us off with thinking about or contemplating on the fact that we can see throughout human history that regardless of culture or place, humans have always shown this natural impulse to ritualize. And of course, I always invite people to look back in history and remember that history is beyond what we think is, the past. There's like distant past as well that shows us and teaches us a lot about how we have been as humans, how we have navigated our human condition, and that in some way or another, we can see that ritual is born for different reasons throughout cultures, but one of them is to mark change, right? And when we're talking about grief, we are talking about first there's a change that then implies losses, that then implies an adaptation to that change, which in the case of the losses that we are, speaking to throughout this webinar series, this adaptation process is the grieving process, right? And that there have been many different ways in which humans have adapted to change through ritual, understanding that the ritual process is that pause that change requires, that pause that loss asks for, of I am no longer, or the situation is no longer, or the person is no longer, I don't know who I am today with what has transpired and what can no longer be. And I need that space of incubation and that space of transformation, that space of adaptation in order to discover who I am becoming, right? So when we look at the structure of ritual in general, it is something that is marking an ending of something, and that is also potentially preparing us for a new beginning. And so, for me, we could look at all of the beautiful and rich uh, culture around ritual or rituals around culture. But I like to recognize in our contemporary world that regardless of those things, some of us have more access to meaningful, powerful ritual structures in our cultures, and some of us maybe not so much, depending on different societies and structures of civilization today. But what I observe, and I'm pretty sure that you might recognize as well, is that when we hold space for grief, we notice how individually people start to have impulse to ritualize. And what does that mean, right? What does that look like? That there are certain actions or certain verbal expressions or gestures or symbols that we tend to connect with, or that tend to connect us with something, and that allow for us to take that pause, recognize what was lost, and make the room for something else that is being born. And so when we hold space for grieving people, we observe that sometimes, at least in my experience, people will say, I don't know if that's normal. I don't know if that's right. I don't know, people question these impulses they have. And so for me, it's really important to recognize and honor the fact that our journeys of change and loss and grief are unique, and therefore our grieving process is going to show up in different ways. And one of the ways that I observe that takes form in so many different, I would love to tell you many stories, but I'm going to, wrap it up so that we can hear from others, and then we'll have a little discussion, is that the way it shows up is unique, and in a way is ritual. There's an essence of ritual in what our grief asks of us as we are navigating the different experiences that grief brings in us and around us. So I'll stop there for now.
Thank you, Wilka. Can I ask Paul, well, just a technical, I don't know if how the people Paul are seeing the speakers, so I don't know if there's any way that they could be in the center of the screen. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So Anna, would you like to go next?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Wilka. And it's very inspiring to listen to you. And rituals is something that I think we may have not grown up. I haven't grown up with it. Yes, they are present. So celebrating the passing of the year, the different rituals that our society has, like right now, Christmas is coming, the New Year is coming. These are also rituals. So we are not so disconnected from it. But also when we speak about grief, it's about a void of something that has been with us, and now it's not anymore. It's not there anymore. So the difficulty is to allow space for that void to be with us, or when we transition a period, which I think it happens to many of us. I have found myself in that position many times, when you know that you're no longer that, but you haven't arrived yet either. So that very difficult space of when you can't find where to hold on to or what to do. So this is when rituals can come really, really supportive and handy in our lives. And I would like to expand the circle of rituals to the other than human creatures, because I think that humans are part of nature, but we always, always believe, or many times, not always, but many times we believe that we are above nature. And I do believe that this creates like this connection from something that is very natural for us. Just like you said, Wilka, that grief is part of the human condition in an earlier conversation. Change is also part of the human condition, and nature can teach us so much of change with the passing of different seasons, which is a topic, of course, that many addressed. But I also think that when we can reintroduce our lives rituals that connect us to nature, it can bring us an ease, because we can recognize that we are not alone with this void, with this suffering, with this pain of needing to let go of something or someone I have been. So there are also many layers to the grief. I think you all know that. It can also be a change of a workplace, or it can be just losing an object that was important for us. That's like a tiny, tiny grief, but it also kind of is important to recognize that we are grieving, and that our society doesn't really like us to have tears in the eyes, or actually to bring grief in the common places. What I find when we expand our connection is that we also are invited to grieve in community. And it has a different layer. It is very important when we can come together and offer that space together where all our voids can appear and can find some expression. So if we think about expressive arts, or just voicing something and having that listener with us, or that group of people who can listen to us, our hearts, voicing something important that we were not even able to write down before, because it's so secret, that's so difficult to honor it. I do believe that those common places help us to actually allow the waters of our bodies to move. Here is another metaphor, because we're 70% of water in this body, everybody, at least. So as a Chinese medicine practitioner told me once, so what happens with the water if it doesn't move? So it becomes dead, and it becomes with a very bad smell, and it happens with us as well. So if we don't allow the waters literally of our body to flow, we may find ourselves in a very difficult health position later on. And I also find working with our ancestors and our ancestral lineages in the healing process is that we are actually sitting on mountains of grief that were ungrieved by all those who have come before us. So stepping in with that brave heart that we all have here, I think, because this is why you're here, it is important to acknowledge and to allow the ease to connect through us to all the word, including the other than human word. I think I'll pause here and invite Rachèl to share her piece. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you.
Thanks so much, folks. I really resonate already. I said that to Espy. When you go at the end, it's kind of like, yeah, what they said. So I'm just going to speak from a little bit of a more personal perspective because I love Anna's analogy of water. We are water, and if that doesn't move, and Wilka, I really resonated when you said about making room. Um, I could speak about specific rituals from my own perspective, from the French Canadian perspective, from the Anglo North American perspective, the Canadian rituals. But I really think that for me, the best advice I received um, when I first had my real come to come to face meeting with grief, some of the best advice I got was to just sit in that space of I'm exactly where I need to be at this moment. And that was hard because as time went along, I was like, should I be here? Should I be here? Um, uh, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing because in my culture, we were never really taught specifically what to do. I saw growing up these cultures, these rich sharing traditions of music and song and those kind of things. And then I kind of made my adult life in a more Anglo North American way, and grief and rituals around grief looked totally different. So here I was thinking, okay, I'm not sure where I'm supposed to be in this and feeling like I should be somewhere else. And the best advice I got, as I said, was to be, give grace for where I actually was. The other part that I think was important for me was supporting somebody through that dying process, and really not having any real idea how to do that either. And feeling kind of really alone in it, and not really feeling like I could reach out to people because grief was so hard to talk about. Nobody wanted to talk about grief, especially for me. My husband died my husband died at 32, and I had a 7-year-old. So I didn't know anybody who was my age that had any kind of experience with that. And nobody really seemed to want to talk about it. And furthermore, my husband at the time, he didn't really want me to talk to anybody about it as well, which was his own process. And so I remember that time being really challenging in terms of not being able to speak about it, even as a caregiver, as a wife, and even after. Now, some of that could have been my own internalizing of it because I didn't learn how to do that because nobody spoke about it. But I look back at it now and I think how I have so much more to offer people because I went through that. And so I know a lot of people here are hospice volunteers, I'm assuming. And I would say if I could go back, I would give the same advice. Know that you're exactly where you're meant to be at this moment. And also to look after self, right? To do what you need to do to give space to your own self. Yeah.
Thank you, Rachèl.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I wonder, Paul, if we could have all the speakers on the screen. And because we have about, I would say, another 15 minutes that you could talk to each other, and then we will have about 10 minutes at the end that for questions that the audience want to ask, questions and answers, or they could write it on the chat, or they could talk to you ladies. So if it's possible, Paul, to have all the speakers on the center of the screen, to share the screen, that would be great. But while Paul is doing that, I don't know if anyone want to be the first one to answer to what has been said already, Wilka, Anna, or
Yeah, I
Rachèl.
would like to just add a little bit because I think that was a great introduction. That, I would like to emphasize that from my own experience and observation, I noticed that grief has its own agenda for us, for our healing and for our growth and transformation, right? And that, to me, that is at the foundation of what impulses, ritual impulses will arise, right? So as we allow ourselves to be with grief, which is, I'm so glad that in this day and age, at least we can acknowledge that grief is present and that we need space for it and that, we need to honor it and make room for it, that we can observe what impulses are showing up, right? That sometimes they might seem like the oddest things, like, there are days we just want to like burrow into like a cocoon for a while. And then there are days we need to go out and look at the stars. And there are days we need to carry the picture of our loved one around everywhere and tell them everything that's happening. Or there are days we are inspired to sing and then feel connected in these ways, that we can allow for whatever these impulses are. That is at the foundation of what ritual is. It's allowing these kind of odd, out of the ordinary moments to take over and guide us into what we need, right? That's what ritual is for in one way or another. And it starts with, I think in this day and age, with our own process, and that it's about in some way either something that we discover has meaning that we didn't know was there, something that facilitates a sense of connection, whether with ourselves, with others, or when we're talking about the loss of a loved one, with a loved one, with, for a dying person, something that connects them with whatever it is that's going to sustain them through their dying process. So that these are, to me, some of the pointers that tell me, oh, this is ritual, right? Whatever either makes me connect with myself, others, some kind of something that's going to take me through creating meaning or having meaning. And anyway, I just wanted to say that part, and that grief is the guide. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
agree.
Thank you.
That grief is the guide. I agree with that. It's a beautiful phrase. What popped up in my mind is how important also to say properly goodbye in our own ways, because many times I don't know how is it in the UK, in Spain, after someone passes away, like within a day, they are like urged to be cremated, most of them, or put in the ground. But as there in Barcelona, there is not much ground where you could go. This is the preferred method that it chooses. And I don't know if you remember the very old Greek drama titled Antigone, where actually she has a problem and a personal war because they don't want her to bury her brother's body. And that's like, oh, that cannot happen. Like, it has to happen something with that body who was the body of my beloved. And I think that's really important when we speak about attending to those who pass away. Like, maybe we also need to be brave enough to say what we want to happen to this body when it passes away. And I think that would be one way to bring it back to the society. So, because why not would we want to be care of that part, which is actually to saying goodbye to the life that we've lived. And what I find, and I read an article about it which touched me really deeply. I can't find the reference where it was, but how actually bathing that beloved person after they have passed away, even if it was a difficult death, put some relaxation after the death in the body. So that ritual of offering that final goodbye to the body that carried that consciousness or soul, I think it's a beautiful ritual, and it is absolutely all across the world. So this is, if I would choose to bring back something, I think it would be this one, to bring importance what we do with the body, because it's so important. It can help so much.
I love that. Thank you. And well, I'm just going to give a moment to that because that's really lovely. Just even feeling into what that would be like, going back and forward to, it's like an honoring. Yeah. And it really made me think about, I've always felt after I was there when my husband passed.
I'm going to try and check proper contact and I will get in touch with you.
I would say to
I'll send you a
people,
WhatsApp. I'll send you a.
Sorry, I think there is Paul. Is it someone with the?
It's okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's okay.
okay.
It's fixed.
Thanks.
Yeah. I would say to people, for me, his passing was as profound as when I've attended a birth. And for me, it was as profound to be there when someone comes into the world as it is to be there when they pass through it. And it often got like, ooh, there's no, for some people that was uncomfortable, which is fine. That's their own. But I think understanding that it is a profound gift if you're able to be there. If not, then I know that comes with its own set of probably griefs as well. But I really resonated with that. Yeah, thank you. And just that permission to be where you're at. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachèl. I don't know if anyone, we've got like a couple of minutes, so 2 or 3 minutes before, if we want to open to the audience, if it's any questions.
Well, there's one thing I'd like to add to the bathing ritual, which I think is very, very essential to our process of transition when there's a death, right? That it's not just that it's a moment of pause, it's a moment of connection, it's a moment of something beyond what we can think with our minds, but it's also biological and it's also neurological. There's something in being with that dead body and tending to it and the changes that are occurring. There's a communication that's happening between the live body and the dead body that also registers in our body and in our nervous system in a way that is necessary for a smoother transition into what happens after, right? So what I've observed is that this ritual, in whatever form it takes, I think sometimes it's also an impulse. It's a natural impulse to want to be with, to sort of integrate the experience, not by thinking about it, but by being with it. My observation is that it also supports maybe it's hard to evaluate like ease with grief, but there's something that is facilitated by taking that time. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilka. Paul, can you add me into the screen so I could asking people to ask the questions?
You are there,
the
Espe.
screen. Yeah,
I can't see myself.
Yeah, we can't see ourselves being there, but I'm sure.
Oh, okay. It's about ego. Okay. Thank you. So I've got is it Sally Adams that has the hands up?
Hi. It's kind of a question, but in my role, I support people who are bereaved through someone being killed in a road crash. So one of the main challenges is when they're so severely injured that people cannot see them. I've just had a client who couldn't wash the body. She was Muslim and couldn't do that because her mum was just too badly damaged, for want of a better word, but it's becoming quite an issue where they're not allowed to see them, they're not allowed to see their faces. So I don't know if you've got any hints or thoughts on that, but it's a big problem for a lot of people I support.
Thank you, Sally. I don't know if anyone has any. Yeah. Anna?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that here. I think it's really important. And I do believe that the objects that we carry, and we carry often with us, also carry some of our energies, some of who we have been, things that we loved. So offering some rituals with any objects, like with that ritual mindset that, please, my mother, I couldn't go to you, but please take this from me. It will be received. I am confident in that. And it's like also helps to settle that wound in us that I couldn't go there. Now, there has been so many people who were not allowed to visit their loved ones in the hospitals in the pandemics. I think on social level, society level, we haven't grieved that. In Spain, it was just such a loss. Like, and there is an aching in the body that you mentioned, Wilka, that, I want to do something. So this is also for our own good to come and find that dearest object that I can tend instead of tending the body, if that's not possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will add to that an essential element of ritual is the use of symbol, anything that can represent something else, right? The ritual itself becomes a bridge, especially when certain things are not accessible to us, right? Often in our grief, a lot doesn't feel accessible to us, regardless of, who's there, who isn't there. And so symbols represent, and that is a big part of what ritual can facilitate, that if there's something that is not physically present, what is going to represent that for the people, and so yeah, to bring that to whatever spaces we can hold, where whatever it is that we don't have direct access to, inviting the contemplation of what would represent or what would hold that energy or that quality, as Anna was saying.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. We've got another hands up. Guion. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome, Guion. Nice to
Hi.
see you.
I'm so happy to see you all, and thank you so much for the very insightful. In half an hour, you managed to pour so many insights. It was really, yeah, thank you for that. I had a question or maybe a comment to make around our culture as our society as a loss denying society. And also the loss denying because the system is failing and the system is about to collapse, but there is a denial of that. So I'm curious to ask anyone who would like to answer, what's your take on rituals in a place of denial of collapse, whether this is an individual's or societal level, and how can we support ourselves through rituals when there is this denial and it's just all encompassing everywhere? Thank you.
I could start a little bit with that, just because, one of the things that I failed to mention is how today we do have some maybe rituals, right, that are not really meeting our needs. So in this contemporary society, we have sort of these routine things that we're expected to do, but that we've lost connection to what their function is or what their purpose is or how they're going to serve us as individuals in a community, right? In this denial that you're speaking of, we are so isolated. right? That we don't assume that someone else's loss is also my loss, and that when someone else is grieving, it's going to impact my community. And so a big part of what we see is that we are so disconnected, and that whatever we have in place of the rituals that could be meaningful are often soulless. And I don't mean to evaluate, but often we just feel just as empty or worse after a ritual. And so I think this is actually, I mean, I can't speak in general terms, but it's kind of bringing us back to these conversations. Why are we talking about ritual today, right? Because what we have available is not helping, and less are we able to keep our grief quiet or silent. Yeah, I'll just say that.
Thank you, Wilka. Anna?
Yeah, I would like to add that it's important to show up with our grief. Otherwise, it's not going to be acknowledged, and we participate in the denial as much as we're not allowing our tears to flow when we feel sad or when we connect it to that space. And I do believe that the society also needs actively stepping in people who will say, I'm going to hold a grief circle. And it doesn't matter if it's in person or if it's online. I think all of us here, if anybody wants to do that, just please send a message and we're going to help you with that, how to do that. We can share knowledge about it. But it's important to come together and crave that space in society, that it is okay to grieve. And it's part of human life. So I do believe that we are all each part of that change. And as much as we can, again, bring in the other than human family to that grieving, because we're not disconnected. That's the biggest illusion that we have in this world, that anywhere there is a war in this globe, it doesn't concern us. Of course it concerns us, and millions of people are dying every day, and we're going to feel it in our soul. So it's a bigger picture, but we need to start it with the individual, that's the passion. We need to start with the individual and allowing ourselves to feel that grief, and allowing ourselves that moment that you spoke about, Rachèl, that I'm here with it, and it's bloody difficult, but I'm still here and I'm going to feel it. So that's what I believe. Thank you. Very passionate.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Anna.
And I'd just like to add a little bit to that, if possible. When I believe that when we show up and I'm going to say, have the courage, that may not be the right word, but when we have the courage to be present to that in spaces where perhaps it isn't typical, we somehow give other people the courage to be able to be okay to do that. I work a lot with teens in high school, and when somebody passes away, or whatever the word people use for dying, for teens, and I talk to kids about, how do we help? How can you help? How can you support? And my simple advice to them is, don't just say, what can I do? Because often the person doesn't know what you can do. What I often say to them is, figure out 3 things you can do, and then reach out and say, okay, I can bring this, I can do this, I can do that. Do any of those things work for you? And it's a very simple idea, but something that they can do. And I always say, just show up. Be honest. I don't know what to say, what to do, but just be present with the person. And that's often all they can do. And so I think just us having the courage to do that and to show others how to do it, it therefore gives them the courage. Thanks.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Rachèl. Sorry. It comes to mind that the importance of what all of you are bringing, and why we're having this conversation today. How important it is to talk about, how important it is to open up, to make it, to normalize it. And Guillaume was talking about denial and put it on one side, and just to do this more more often, and to, yeah, I'm very, very grateful. I'm very aware of the time. We've got 4 minutes left. So I don't know if anyone, I haven't looked at the chat, so I don't know if anyone, I know Sam was looking after the chat. I don't know if it's anyone on the chat, any questions or anything that we need to look after, Sam, or is that all okay? Or do we want to have a few words to close this conversation all together? For me, I'm going to start with this. Sam, if you have any questions, just let me know.
No questions, no questions.
Thank you. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to organize this and to be able to talk about all of you today. It makes the world a lot smaller when we're able to meet all online, and it being in every corner of the world, talking about grief and rituals, and allowing this possibility. I feel very privileged and grateful. So thank you, all of you, for being here. And yeah, I give you the opportunity to close. We've got 3 minutes, so you got a minute each to close the webinar. And thank you for being here.
No, I will go very quickly. Thank you, Esper. Thank you for inviting me. And I want to offer just a little prayer for all of us to be held whenever we are grieving, and to find that community that can help us, and that we know that we're not alone and that we are together in it. And may we all, including all creatures, find a way to live in peace in this world. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll go next. I just wanted to, again, thank you, SV and Anna and Wilka and all the participants. Thank you for allowing me to be here in this space. I feel really honored. And I guess I'd love to leave with, we're all exactly where we're meant to be. How did we all make it here in this exact moment, in this space and time? So just very supreme gratitude for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachèl.
And I'll just quickly say thank you again so much. And this conversation has sort of inspired me as I'm navigating the caregiving for my mother right now. So I've felt held and inspired. And yes, we are not alone. And as Anna said, reach out to us if you want to keep talking about it. This is one thing that to me is very life-giving, to stay connected through this thing that connects us all, which is that we all are grieving something. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you. And we need to close. Thank you for being here today. Very grateful. We will still have tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, 3 different webinars with different speakers, and we welcome everyone. They're all free, and you are welcome to join us for the rest of the week. So have a lovely day, all of you. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, Anna. Just gonna see.
Gracias. Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Bye. Gracias.
I'm reading the chat now. So there was Lots of thank you.
Mm.
Yeah. We've got someone.
Just going to end the event, but I don't know if that's going to kick you all off or not. Do you want me to hold back for a minute?
Yeah. Do you want me to end the event now?
I'm not sure if everyone will go at this point or not. I'll try it and then see what happens, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, we still have the
Yeah.
Fireflies AI.